Growing up, my all-time favorite genre of media was sci-fi, and during my younger years, there were three main series I was into: Halo, Mobile Suit Gundam, and of course, Star Wars. While Star Wars has seen better days, trust me, I've lived through those days, it's still one of my all-time favorite series. I have a Blu-ray box set of the prequel and original trilogy, and have seen Return of the Jedi and A New Hope more times than I can count. I also have a DVD set of the original Clone Wars miniseries, and love both that and the modern-day Clone Wars to the point where the Clone Wars has become one of my all-time favorite events in all of Star Wars. Also mentioning the approximate $400 of Star Wars figures I own, which includes the Black Series, Vintage Collection, and some original figures that you'd have to sell your left nut and eyes for. You'd think I just have about every base covered for the series. However, my knowledge of Star Wars games was limited. I knew about the LEGO Star Wars games, EA's Star Wars Battlefront games, KOTOR, and one weird Clone Wars side-scroller on the Leap Pad.
Fuck, you're old.
So, for 11 years of my life, I had not known the true taste of greatness when it came to Star Wars games, until I got two of the greatest games of all time through Games with Gold when it was active. Those two games were the original Star Wars Battlefront 2, and today's game, Star Wars Republic Commando. Since it's that time of year where we all gather to watch George Lucas's sci-fi masterpiece, it's time for me to turn on some of my favorite Clone Wars episodes and my yearly playthrough of one of the Star Wars games. I thought I'd take a look at this absolute classic of a game. Developed by the now defunct Lucasfilm Games, Republic Commando is a squad-based first-person shooter set in the Star Wars universe released on the original Xbox and PC in 2005, and later ported onto the Nintendo Switch and PS5 by Asper in 2021. The story is set during the Clone Wars and sees you take control of RC-138, Boss. He's the leader of Delta Squad, who are tasked with fucking up the operations of the CIS and anyone who's a threat to the Republic. The story is split across three locations that could each count as their own campaigns: Geonosis, a Venator-class Star Destroyer, and Kashyyyk. The other members of Delta Squad are Delta 40, Fixer, Delta 07, Sev, and my favorite, Delta 62, Scorch. Fixer is kind of the mechanic or hacker of your team. It is very by the book. Sev is your sniper who's one cold motherfucker mainly focused on kills. And Scorch is demolitions expert with the most personality out of the whole group. If any of my younglings in the audience, who should not be watching this video or channel, feel a sense of familiarity with these characters, that's because the Bad Batch are loosely based on Delta Squad from what I could tell. Speaking of the Bad Batch,
look how they massacred my boy.
I've heard complaints from people that Scorch is kind of annoying. Those same people are fucking deranged. Scorch just brings so much life and light to this game's story that I honestly find it shocking that there's someone out there who hates Scorch. I fucking love Scorch. He's my second favorite character in all of Star Wars, and would be my favorite if Rex didn't exist. I can't talk about this game's story without at least mentioning the Venator levels. I won't spoil any of it, so the magic for when you get to this part of the game is still there. I, unfortunately, had its magic ruined for me, but I was still blown away by it, and it still became one of my favorite sections in all of gaming. I've played this entire section more times than I've actually beaten the game. If that's not a testament to how good the section is, the only other game that I've played that even came remotely close to this section is maybe Dante's section in DMC4. Maybe. I also have to mention that this game's story ends on one of the most notorious fucking cliffhangers in all of gaming. Before I move on to the gameplay, I also want to mention that this came out during the era when gaming studios got hard rock or metal artists to create songs specifically for games. Some great examples are Blow Me Away by Breaking Benjamin in Halo 2, Years of War by Body Count in Gears of War 3, and Clones by Ash here in Republic Commando. It's something I wish more games did today, but with what's popular in music today, I think I'm good. Like I said earlier, this is a squad-based game, but let's talk about you for a minute, since you're going to be giving orders. Your HUD shows all the necessary data like your crosshair, health, and your squad mate's health, and your shield. I wonder where that came from. Halo. Sorry about that. Your main bread and butter for combat are your weapons. You have 4 weapons that are permanently in your inventory. Well, you actually have 2 because one can swap out parts. That one weapon is the DC-17M interchangeable weapon system. The main attachment is basically your workhorse weapon that you will be using all throughout the game. Despite having one of the worst iron sights I've ever seen, it's perfect for every occasion, which is something I see most games struggle with, when it comes to basic weapons. The first attachment you get is the sniper attachment that is good for most occasions and doesn't suffer from the issue where it is only useful when zoomed in. Now is a good time to mention that every shot goes exactly where you point it, with some exceptions. And it adds a sense of realism to it all that I see many games struggle with, even in realistic shooters. It's just peak weapons design in a game. The final attachment you get is the anti-armor attachment, which is a grenade launcher, with the only caveat being the limited amount of ammo you get for the thing. Finally, you have your backup weapon, the DC-17S pistol, that has infinite ammo, but it comes at the cost of such low damage that I think it's better used as a melee weapon. There are also a couple of other weapons that I need to talk about because they're just so fucking good. First of all is your melee weapon, the retractable knuckle plate vibroblade. That's not a mouthful at all, which is exactly what its name suggests. It has two animations that I can only describe as a light and a heavy attack, but both usually one-shot enemies. And I need attention to detail, you can get blood or oil on your visor. It also has an interesting glitch where the attack will happen twice in a row, which adds a sense of urgency to the situation. You also get a couple of grenade types that are pretty self-explanatory, like the ever-classic thermal detonator, EMP grenades, flashbangs, and sonic blast grenades, all of which are extremely useful. I also have to mention the Trandoshan shotgun, which is one of the best shotguns in all of gaming. It's almost on par with Doom's super shotgun, and you haven't truly played this game if you didn't use this absolute beast of a shotgun for at least an hour. Now let's talk about the squad mechanics. The mechanics are pretty simple. You can order one of your squad mates to complete an objective like setting a det pack, hacking a terminal, or breaching a door by pressing the action button when the icon appears on your crosshair. You can also send them to operate turrets, plant proximity explosives, disable mines, or send them to cover where they can use either their sniper attachment, anti-armor attachment, or toss thermal detonators. Pressing the same button on an enemy will mark that enemy as a priority 1 target that everyone will shoot at. Holding down the action button will release a prompt correlating to the D-pad where you can tell your squad to form up, cancel all their maneuvers, hold up an area, or clear an area. Now, most games with squad mechanics go down either one of two paths. One path is where the squad mechanics are basically fucking useless and you can go throughout the entire game without ever using them or even knowing they existed, like in Gears of War. The other path is where the AI is so goddamn stupid that they are over-reliant on the squad mechanics and they become more of a hindrance than anything. Republic Commando doesn't do either of those. The AI is kind of reliant on your orders, but they also are very capable of handling themselves, like how they can heal themselves at back stations if they need to, and one is nearby. You know what, as a matter of fact, if you play this game with the mindset that your teammates are a hindrance and don't probably take care of them, you're not only playing the game wrong, but you'll not make it past the Geonosis even on the easiest difficulty. You also need to master the controls for the squad mechanics before the final moments on Geonosis, but you get plenty of ample time to do that, and it's not that hard either. My only complaint about the squad mechanics is that all of your squad mates and you are just as good as the other. If that's the case, then why the fuck did the game spend the time to teach me that Scorch is good at explosives, Fixer is good at tech, and Sev is good at sniping when they all perform the exact same? I don't think it would have been that hard to make each a little better at certain tasks. There are other examples similar to this, like how one of the quotes that are shown during the loading screens say that you shouldn't pick up enemy weapons, but you can pick up some of the weapons that the enemies use. This game is also a perfect example of a game that doesn't get made today, and you just don't see it anywhere else in gaming. It's not just the squad mechanics, but the detail as well, because there's a level of detail and passion for the source material that I rarely see in most other games. I'm not just talking about the details like the breaching maneuvers being actual breaching maneuvers used by special forces in real life, the ragdolls having physics applied to every part of the character models, the dialogue boss has when he first picks up a weapon, or that your squad mates walk differently when injured. It's also the smaller details that you never really think much about that make the game much more immersive than the movies or shows. For example, take the B-2 battle droid. In game, these guys are fucking monsters and can knock you flat on your ass in under 2 seconds on normal difficulty. I thought this was just something to make the gameplay more fun, but there's a lore reason to it because somewhere in the books, fuck no, I'm not finding the specific one, it says that B-2s are fucking scary. My favorite example though is how quickly your shield and health can go out. It just goes to show you that as special and as important as you are, you're just as easily replaceable as any other standard clone trooper. By the end of the game, all I could think of was wanting to play more Republic Commando. However, that's where we run into our first problem, because in terms of content, aside from the campaign, it's severely lacking. Aside from the multiplayer, which we'll get into in a second, all you really get is some really short but really cool developer commentary videos, and one of the worst fucking music videos I've ever seen. It's not even the full video. Now let's talk about the multiplayer. For the most part, it was your standard multiplayer game that featured game modes like Capture the Flag and Deathmatch, and one of the most notorious announcers in all of gaming. Seriously, I can't hear the word headshot without hearing this guy's voice. It also featured some pretty advanced player customization at the time, where you could change more than just your colors. However, again, I find the customization to be severely lacking, because you can only equip a selection from 2 to 3 parts per area, and most of the armor attachments you see on Delta Squad aren't available. If none of that bothers you, though, you can get the online multiplayer working by installing a community-made mod on PC, or you could also type in a certain IP address, which I wouldn't recommend because I tried that IP address, and holy uncanny valley, Batman. If you're wondering what it's like, have you ever seen the Halo 2 Lockout Ghost? That's essentially what that entire IP address is. Your final option is split screen, and there are better games that utilize split screen well out there. For one, some fucking genius thought it would be a great idea to split the screen vertically. Though, when I actually did buy the original Xbox copy and played it on my original Xbox, the screen split was horizontally. So someone on Xbox One just thought it would be a great fucking idea to put that as vertical. I get it. I get that it was done to combat screen cheating, but it just looks so stupid and wrong. This mode also has a tendency to break down. What I mean is that you will run into a bug where the second player's screen has become foobar, where the ceiling, floor, and player 1 become completely invisible. I thought this was a personal problem, but apparently not. Aside from that, I don't really have any other problems until we get to the Switch port, which we will get into right now. Earlier I mentioned that the game was ported over to the PS5 and Nintendo Switch by Asper in 2021, the latter of which is what I used to capture footage. And I've also seen these versions of the game called remasters.
It's getting a little dark here.
A remaster would imply a graphical improvement or update of meaningful note. There was no update to the graphics from what I can tell, which can be seen as a good thing since I felt like the original graphics were basically perfect. The only meaningful note is that neither the PS5 nor the Switch ports feature multiplayer, which is stupid. Seriously, Asper, you would have been making fucking bank if you opened the multiplayer servers back up. However, like most ports for the Switch got the short end of the stick. According to some sources, Asper, being the fucking geniuses that they are, gave the job of porting the game over to the Switch to one guy, and about the only change this guy made to the game was the text for the tutorials. This might not sound like a problem, but allow me to show you something. Alright, let me go show you the problem with the Switch port. Well, my problem exactly. Fuck, my hand's in the way. God damn it, sorry. Oh, God. This is not my house. Here I have the Japanese model for the original Xbox, as you can see right here. I have my child and my Nintendo Switch Pro controller. The problem I'm specifically talking about, which is something I kind of need to angle the phone a little bit. Ooh. As you'll notice, the joystick elevation is vastly different for each model, especially these two, which is the main one I want to point out. Now, I'm not an expert on this shit. I'm a psychology major, for fuck's sake. But this is definitely, I think this is probably the cause as to why I've had to change the sensitivity on my Switch multiple times. I've played a lot of first-person shooters on this thing. I've not had to change a lot of their sensitivities. I've had to do it here. Like, I think 3 times. I think I've had to change it once for the Switch itself, my third-party Pro controller, and this Pro controller right here. So, yeah, no, it's not exactly the best sensitivity. Now, I don't know if they fixed any of this in a recent update, so I won't count it. That update was also supposed to fix other glitches and issues that I won't get into for the sake of time and my sanity. But what did it actually fix?
Nothing!
Absolutely nothing! It did fix some previous issues I had, but it also created new ones that might as well render those fixes null. One of the new glitches it created caused the weapon wheel to fuck up, and if I wanted to pull out the shotgun by pressing down on the D-pad, it would instead pull out the anti-armor attachment. So if you see me pulling out the anti-armor attachment multiple times in a row, I was not pressing left on the D-pad, I was pressing down. This port also did something to the AI pathfinding where NPCs could not properly deal with a wall. One example that comes in mind is when I was on Geonosis doing a first set of footage capture. Fixer would constantly collide with the corner of a wall and get stuck. It would happen to the other commandos too, but Fixer was the main target. There was also this time on Kashyyyk, where a Trandoshan mercenary targeted Sev, but the AI decided to flank him by going through a hole that was blown into the wall and tried to target Sev through a wall in an adjacent room. There's a clip of that exact moment happening somewhere in all this footage. However, despite my bitching, at the end of the day, it's still Republic fucking Commando, one of the greatest, if not the greatest Star Wars game of all time. It doesn't have anything that would immediately deter me away from this port, and I would still play it gladly and without hesitation. If the button on my left thumbstick wasn't broken, I would bring my system everywhere to simply play this game. I mean, yeah, it has its issues, but it really isn't that bad of a port. I've played worse. I'm not going to pretend like I don't have Borderlands 3 on my Switch. With all that said, we come to the verdict. I counted a total of 30 points, with 23 being good and 7 being bad, leading to a base score of 76.7%. I also counted a total of 33 points for the Switch version, with 24 being good and 9 being bad, leading to a base score of 72.7%. I had fun with both versions, making them both games with a 100% score, and I would highly recommend you pick up any version of this game. It's a damn shame that we never got a sequel. Okay, we did kind of get one that no one played, but I would have loved to see where this game's story would have gone if Disney hadn't dropped the hammer on Lucasfilm Games, because I heard that a sequel had gotten to the drawing board, but was scrapped. Disney, butt-fucking Star Wars fans since 2012. Despite Disney being a pain in my fucking life, and the lives of Star Wars fans, and creating one of the worst trilogies I've ever watched that shows that there is such thing as a wrong opinion, I hope Dave Filoni can fill my head with some good shit for Star Wars. And Dave, this is a message to you, even though I know you won't hear it. I crave more Clone Wars shit, because there's so much more that can be done with that concept. Since May is Mental Health Awareness Month, well, I'm not going to go into that spiel. I've done that spiel already. You guys know I fucking got into psychology because I love mental health, and it is one of the most important things to a person's life. So, yeah, take that what you will. But I want you to take a look outside your surrounding and realize that life is great. Sure, the world and media may make the world seem like it's going to shit, but it's usually not as bad as people will lead you to believe. Enjoy your time on this earth because it is limited, and to quote Dylan Opolinski, life is a gift and I'm fucking grateful. So may the Force be with you, and with your spirit.
Delta Squad, lock and load.
Hey, so you made it this long. Congratulations. Now you get to hear me rant more. Firstly, I'd like to answer a couple things as to mainly where I've been since January. Or February, really. February and January was in the middle of winter quarter for my college, and that was a nightmare. I could not be at school for no longer than 2 weeks, so it made basically made my work process and a whole lot of things in my head just kind of all fucked up. So basically, I was not able to do a lot of the things I really wanted to do. Secondly, I got friends, so I got less time for YouTube and shit, but I still want to do it as a hobby. I've had a dream of doing YouTube since I was a kid. I'm still gonna do this shit. And also, what happened to the Metroid retrospective? Well, I was actually in the middle of recording for that. I was gonna do it as a Valentine's Day thing, because, you know, I'm just so fucking lonely. And, well, unfortunately, I came to the realization in the middle of it that I was like, hey, I probably can't do this right now because I need to focus on school. And that is what's going to be happening. Well, actually, by the time this comes out, which is May 4th, that will be around the final season of my of college, of my college quarter, and probably finals for a lot of you college students out there. So that kind of explains words. What was I talking about? Oh, right, Metroid retrospective. Metroid Prime. I'm gonna get it out, hopefully, at some point. I had to put a lot of projects on hold, especially since fuck. Yeah, that's kind of tying all into back together. I know I'm making you stay here for longer, but I've got tons of footage and I want to use some of it. But yeah, no, I have been here. I've been doing things. I just needed to take a break from YouTube for, a hot minute. I will be back. Lord knows I will be back. But for now, I need to focus on other things. And when I find the time to get back into doing this, which hopefully will be soon, you'll know. You will definitely know. So stay tuned. And I will see you when I see you.